Today, we're breaking down a complex moment in global and domestic politics, one that's impacting the economy, U.S. foreign policy, and the day-to-day lives of millions of Americans. Let's start internationally. In Malaysia, President Trump just presided over a major breakthrough. A peace agreement between Cambodia and Thailand, two nations in Southeast Asia that have historically had tense relations. This agreement is being credited with saving millions of lives, promoting stability, and boosting regional trade. President Trump highlighted these new ties, focusing on friendship, commerce, and common security. But that's not all. The president is also traveling across Asia, with high-stakes meetings on the schedule, including an upcoming face-to-face with China's leader, Xi Jinping. At the top of their agenda, trade, especially issues surrounding rare earth minerals, fentanyl, and tariffs. This comes after a new trade agreement framework was announced by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. America's farmers, especially soybean producers, are watching closely. Last year, China bought $13 billion in American soybeans. This year, that number dropped to zero. Talks to restore that trade are ongoing, with U.S. officials negotiating intensely with their Chinese counterparts in Malaysia. Meanwhile, countries of Southeast Asia are watching another story unfold. China's increasing aggression in the South China Sea, where Beijing has built military bases atop reefs despite previous promises from President Xi a decade ago that militarization wouldn't happen. The U.S., in response, is beefing up its presence in the Caribbean. President Trump ordered America's most advanced aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, to lead an armada near Venezuela, where U.S. forces recently destroyed multiple vessels involved in drug smuggling. These showdowns highlight the growing tensions and shifting priorities in American defense and foreign policy. Now, back home, the ongoing government shutdown is dominating domestic headlines. Senators Rand Paul of Kentucky and Tim Kaine of Virginia are at the center of bipartisan efforts to negotiate an end to this crisis. Both senators are raising uneasy questions about recent military operations, especially concerning U.S. action off the coast of Venezuela. Senator Paul warns that without congressional debate and approval, targeted attacks risk undermining constitutional checks and balances. Both he and Senator Kaine stress that if America is to engage in conflict, it must follow the rule of law and ensure transparency, including identifying targets and providing evidence before taking lethal measures. On the shutdown itself, lawmakers are divided not only about how to reopen the government, but also about deeper issues like healthcare subsidies and controlling federal spending. Healthcare premiums are skyrocketing for many, particularly in states like Virginia, one source of frustration cited by Senator Kaine. He argues that any deal to reopen must include guarantees that funds and programs won't be unilaterally changed or canceled by the White House. Senator Paul, on the other hand, says that simply extending government subsidies for insurance isn't solving underlying problems. He advocates for consumer reforms, like legalizing collective bargaining for insurance, to bring down costs, and suggests that a bipartisan Senate commission could help broker a real solution if the shutdown ends temporarily. Finally, overseas humanitarian issues haven't been forgotten. Senators Kaine and Paul both support U.S. measures to address religious persecution in countries like Nigeria, where violence against Christians and other minorities remains rampant. They argue that American foreign aid should be conditional on countries upholding religious freedom and human rights.